My phone buzzed again. I ignored it for a moment, tracing the smooth edge of the porcelain coffee cup in my hands, listening to the soft hum of the city outside my apartment window. The sunlight fell just right, glinting off the faint silver threads in my silk blouse. I should have felt calm, composed even. Everyone at work would describe me as put together. But inside, I was unraveling, strand by strand. The funeral had been yesterday. The military honors, the folded flag, the muted sobs of friends and distant relatives, it all still clung to me like a heavy shawl. My husband, Daniel, gone. The text I had sent to the family group, "He's in the ground. Someone here for me?" was still out there, floating in a digital space where words became judgments. I stared at my phone again. No responses yet. I could feel the tension building, that familiar sting of abandonment. My family, as always, seemed incapable of being present in the moments that mattered. The apartment smelled faintly of lilies from the funeral arrangements. My hands ached from gripping the phone too tightly. Some part of me wanted to curl up and let the grief swallow me. Another part, the one that Daniel had always admired, the part that refused to break, told me to stand tall. My reflection in the window stared back, composed, elegant, but with shadows lurking behind my eyes. And somewhere deep inside, I felt the tiny spark of reckoning, the quiet determination that I would not be left entirely alone. I remember the night I first realized I couldn't count on anyone but myself. I was 23, fresh out of college, full of ideas and ambition, but utterly naive about the way the world and my family actually worked. I had come home, bright-eyed and hopeful, to announce that I wanted to move to Chicago to pursue a career in publishing. My parents, sitting across from me at the dinner table, didn't even hide their disdain. "You're abandoning us," my mother said sharply, her fork clattering against the plate. "Why can't you stay here and help your father with the business? That's what family does." I have my own path," I whispered, feeling the lump rise in my throat. My hands were trembling, my fingers curling around the edge of the table. My father's jaw tightened, his eyes cold, distant. There was no understanding, no encouragement, only the weight of disappointment and expectation. I felt like a child being scolded for wanting to breathe. After I stormed out of the house, I wandered to the little park near our street, the cool night air brushing my cheeks. That's when Grandma Lillian found me, sitting alone on the swing, my shoes scuffed, heart racing. She knelt beside me and took my hand in hers, the warmth of her calloused fingers grounding me. "Sam," she said softly, "life isn't about following the path others expect of you. It's about walking the one that makes your soul sing. You've got fire in you. Don't let them snuff it out." She pressed a small, worn notebook into my hands, its pages filled with her notes and wisdom from decades of living. "Write your plan. Make your mark. No one can take this from you." I clutched the notebook like it was a lifeline. That night, under the dim glow of the street lamp, I made a decision that would shape every step of my life. I was leaving, and I would not look back. My family's rejection had stung, but Grandma's faith in me, her belief that I was capable, lit the first flicker of the independence I would carry for the rest of my life. Chicago was a whirlwind, a city that demanded everything from you and gave back only what you fought for. I arrived with 2 suitcases, Grandma Lillian's notebook clutched to my chest, and a heart full of both hope and terror. The apartment I found was small, with peeling paint and a creaky floorboard that protested every step I took. But it was mine, my first real taste of independence. The early days were brutal. I applied for every publishing internship I could find, answering rejection emails like they were letters from distant relatives who had forgotten I existed. Some nights I cried into my pillow, feeling the weight of my family's absence pressing down. But every morning, I opened that notebook and reread Grandma's words. "Make your mark. No one can take this from you." It became my mantra, my armor, my lifeline. One afternoon, I met Eleanor Hayes, a senior editor at a boutique publishing house. She saw something in me I hadn't even dared to believe existed. "You've got potential," she said, leaning back in her leather chair, her silver hair catching the sunlight. "I can help you. but you have to want it more than anything. Her belief, so steady and uncompromising, pushed me beyond my own doubts. The next 2 years were a blur of long nights and endless coffee cups. I learned to pitch ideas, negotiate contracts, and stand firm when clients tried to dismiss me. I made mistakes, big ones, but each one was a lesson. My first major success came when I landed a debut author whose manuscript everyone else had passed over. The deal brought in enough money to pay my rent for 6 months, but more importantly, it proved to me that I could do this, that I could survive, that I could thrive. I didn't broadcast my victories. My family only saw the occasional vague social media update, a picture of a coffee cup with a book, a short caption about late-night writing sessions. They had no idea I was signing contracts, leading teams, and slowly carving out my place in the world. I liked it that way. The secrecy was comforting. My achievements were mine alone, untainted by expectations or judgment. By the time I was 27, I was running my own small publishing consultancy, my name quietly gaining respect in literary circles. I had a steady income, a modest but elegant apartment, and the sense of self-worth that my family had never been able to give me. Every late night, as I flipped through Grandma's notebook, I felt a quiet gratitude. She had given me not just words, but the courage to write my own story, literally and figuratively. I was still Sam Reynolds, the same girl who had felt abandoned at 23. But I was also Sam Reynolds, independent, capable, and quietly unstoppable. And the best part? No one, not even my family, could take that away from me. The doorbell rang, sharp and unexpected, breaking the quiet hum of my Saturday morning. I wasn't expecting anyone, certainly not my parents or siblings. But when I opened the door, there they were, faces painted with a familiar mix of surprise and expectation, bracing for the version of me they thought they knew. Small, struggling, dependent. Sam. My mother's voice trailed, uncertain. My father's eyes narrowed, a faint crease of disbelief on his forehead. My younger brother, always the loud one, tried to force a grin that didn't reach his eyes. I invited them in, closing the door behind them, and led them through my apartment. Every detail, every corner, reflected the life I had built. Minimalist yet warm decor, walls adorned with abstract art that I had purchased piece by piece, a tidy desk with polished brass accents, and stacks of manuscripts waiting to be edited. My apartment wasn't just a space, it was a testament to late nights, quiet victories, and relentless determination. They lingered, scanning the room with a mixture of awe and disbelief. I waited, letting the silence stretch. There was power in quiet observation. Letting them absorb it before I spoke would make them listen. Finally, I cleared my throat. I suppose you expected to see someone struggling to get by, I said, my voice calm measured. But that isn't who I am anymore. My father opened his mouth, then closed it again. My mother's eyes widened, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. I run my own publishing consultancy now, I continued. I have clients across the country. My annual income exceeds what you might have imagined. I'm financially independent. And yes, I did all of this without your support, without your guidance, but with people who believed in me and the lessons I was willing to learn. They exchanged glances, the disbelief written plainly across their faces. My brother's jaw tightened. He seemed both angry and impressed. I walked over to the window and gestured toward the skyline of the city beyond. This life, this success that didn't come overnight. It came from sleepless nights, mistakes that I learned from, mentors who guided me, and a decision I made years ago to never let anyone else dictate my worth. My mother's lips trembled, my father's posture slumped slightly, as if the weight of unspoken guilt had finally settled on them. Sam, my mother whispered, voice barely audible. We didn't realize. I didn't interrupt. Silence can be more eloquent than words. They were seeing me, truly seeing me for the first time. Then I leaned forward, softening my tone just slightly. I'm sharing this because I want you to understand that I've made it, not to humble you, but to show that it was possible. And yes, I still care about family. But if this is going to work, if we're going to have a relationship moving forward, it will be on terms that respect my independence and growth. Shock, awe, guilt, they all flickered across their faces in succession. I had expected denial or defensiveness, but instead, I saw something else, the dawning realization that they had underestimated the person I had become. For the first time in years, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Not revenge, not vindication, just the calm, steady power of a woman who had survived, thrived, and finally taken her rightful place in her own life. After the initial shock, the room grew quiet, a stillness that spoke louder than any words. I could see it in their eyes, the realization that the Sam they thought they could control no longer existed. And I wasn't going to let the past dictate the future. Not anymore. I want to make one thing clear. I began, my voice steady, resonant with authority, but not cruelty. If we're going to have a relationship from this point on, it will be on terms that respect the person I am, not the child you once thought I was. My mother flinched slightly, but I held her gaze. You will treat me as an equal. No more unsolicited advice about my life choices. If you want to be part of my world, you must respect the life I've built and the boundaries I've set. I turned to my father. You've taught me, indirectly, that resilience comes from facing rejection. That lesson is valuable, but your skepticism and harsh criticism will no longer have a place in my life. I expect honesty, not judgment. My brother shifted uncomfortably. And you? I asked, meeting his eyes. You've spent years underestimating me. You will start treating me as a capable adult. That means no more mocking my choices, no more belittling my achievements, and yes, I expect you to pursue your own passions rather than trying to live vicariously through me. There was tension in the room, a mixture of discomfort and awakening. I could see them processing, realizing that I wasn't asking for favors. I was setting clear conditions. Boundaries, yes, but also opportunities for growth. And for all of you, I added, softening slightly, I still care. I want to be involved in your lives. But to move forward, each of you must commit to self-growth. Leave behind toxic patterns, stop holding grudges, and start taking responsibility for your own happiness. This isn't punishment. It's a chance for us to heal, together, in a way that honors each of us. I paused, letting my words sink in, then walked to the kitchen and poured coffee, the rich aroma filling the space. Small gestures matter, even in the heaviest moments. I'm not here to punish anyone, I said, returning with a cup for each of them. I'm here to show that change is possible, and that respect, love, and boundaries can coexist. The air shifted. I saw my mother nod slightly, tentative, but genuine. My father's posture softened. My brother's frown turned into something resembling thoughtfulness. For the first time, it wasn't about proving myself to them, it was about offering them a chance to meet me on equal footing. I realized then that real power wasn't in money or success. It was in owning your worth, setting your terms, and demanding that the people who mattered respect them. And for the first time, I felt entirely, undeniably in control. Weeks passed, and the tension in my family gradually softened. It wasn't instant, of course. Old habits die slowly, but small changes became evident. My mother began calling not to lecture, but to genuinely check in. My father asked for advice on a personal project of his own, listening without judgment for the first time in years. Even my brother started sending updates about his own pursuits, not expecting validation but sharing progress. I watched these shifts quietly, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. For the first time, I wasn't the only one adapting. They were meeting me halfway, and it was a strange, beautiful relief. I realized that my insistence on boundaries hadn't pushed them away, it had given them space to grow. Late one evening, I sat on my balcony, the city lights twinkling below like scattered stars. The old notebook Grandma Lillian had given me years ago rested on my lap. Its pages were worn, scribbled with advice that had guided me through sleepless nights, heartbreak, and uncertainty. I traced the familiar handwriting, feeling her presence and wisdom in every line. I thought about the journey I had taken, From that frightened 23-year-old girl being dismissed by her own family to the woman who now stood strong, independent, and confident. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every triumph and failure had led me here. I had survived grief, rejection, and loneliness, and in the process, I had discovered something invaluable: my own strength. The family who had once underestimated me was now learning to respect me, not out of fear, but because they had seen the woman I had become. And I, in turn, had learned to approach them with compassion, understanding, and grace, while still maintaining the boundaries I had fought so hard to define. I closed the notebook, holding it to my chest, and whispered to the night, "I am here. I am enough. And I will never let anyone take that away again." It was a quiet declaration, but it carried all the weight of my journey. Strength and independence, loss and love, resilience and growth, they had all converged in this moment. And for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. Because this was my life, my story, and I was finally living it on my own terms.